Could I please have your attention?
Kenny Davis is about to graduate college.
Could I please have your attention? Before we begin tonight's meeting, our invocation will be offered by Reverend Dwight Moody of the Erlanger Baptist Church. It's good to see you again. Thanks for coming to visit with us.
Thanks, sir. Let's pray. Father, I am reminded of the prolific words of a fictitious president who said, "These are serious times, and we need serious people." I have absolutely no doubt that the men and women who sit in these council seats love this city and love the people of Erlanger. And I pray that you give them wisdom and discernment to do what's best for all. Father, I thank you for the men and women, even the children who gather in this room. For I know deep in their hearts, their passion is for their city, for their community, for their people. God, I thank you for a place that still allows churches to pray. And God, we just seek your face, your counsel, your wisdom. May everything that is done bring honor and glory to you. For it's the name of your Son we pray. Amen.
Amen. I'll call the January 8th, 2013 meeting of Erlanger City Council to order, the first of the new term of City Council. Ask if you all please stand as we pledge the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we do roll call, I would like to be the first to welcome back Kathy Cahill to council.
Thank you.
It's great to see you again. Roll call.
Mr. Longshore.
Present.
Mr. Burke.
Here.
Mr. Dunhoff.
Here.
Ms. Skidmore.
Here.
Ms. Sudkamp. Ms. Pitts. Ms. Kyle.
Here.
Ms. Cahill.
Here.
Mr. Cahill. Mr. Brown.
Here.
Mr. Blankenship.
Here.
Mr. Howard.
Here. We have a quorum. I think most people on council know, but I'll announce that Patty Sudkamp just hates missing this, but she had somehow broken her hip and had surgery yesterday, I believe, and is in the hospital. We send our wishes and our thoughts to Patty and her husband Bruce, who's also ailing. Corrine was also taken to the hospital this morning with a bronchitis attack infection, and I know that bothers the dickens out of her, so we wish Corrine well. I think Tommy Cahill had one of two things happen. Number one, he had a job requirement to be here, or number two, he didn't want to sit next to his mom. So as a mayor, I will probably say, leave him alone, Kathy. We need Tom back here. You should have on your desk minutes of the regular council meeting December 4th, 2012. Are there any corrections or additions to be made at this time? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to be adopted as presented. Motion by Mr. Longshore, second by Mr. Burke. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I will sign them. We have a series of presentations. Mr. Dunhoff, you're going to go down to the podium for us, please. First, is Chief Allen going to? Yes. Oh, Chief Shulkers, that's right.
Good evening, Councilman. Welcome. It's my pleasure to actually introduce a good friend of mine that's been around for 15 years with our agency. Captain Dye joined our agency January 5th back in '98. He came to us as a training officer that was selected over a ton of great applicants. Tim excelled in the training division, and then when Chief Martin retired and Chief Koenig and Chief Allen were promoted, that left a fire marshal position open. Captain Dye was pretty comfortable where he was at, but the department needed somebody to fill the fire marshal position, and there wasn't anybody else in house. He took a step out stepped up for our department and was very successful in conducting the fire marshal business. I want to read a few things. And Tim came fire marshal in 2004 and has really taken our program in places that other departments actually call us and ask us how are we doing certain things. Tim is consulted on a regular basis from other fire marshals around northern Kentucky asking about specific codes. Tim is a person that just loves to excel. He jumped in the fire marshal business and wasn't just satisfied in getting the minimal certification for fire marshal in the state of Kentucky. Tim and a guy that used to work for us, Bob Krebs, jumped into it, and they wanted to seek national accreditation for their certifications. Tim started off with the NFPA Fire Inspector 1 course. It's a very difficult course, a lot of coursework, a lot of testing. It's interesting to note that there's only 1,600 people that have ever successfully completed the NFPA Fire Inspector 1. If that wasn't good enough, he went on and became a Fire Inspector 2 at the NFPA. Interesting enough, there's only 60 people around, in Kentucky that have the certification. There's only 2 in northern Kentucky. I'm very proud of Tim. Tim is always, we've been a cheerleader for each other. He helped me get my job. We were battling, and he actually stepped up and said, let the old guy have it. And even though I'm only 2 months older than him. But I appreciate it. Tim's been a great friend. He's been a true advocate for this city and a very dedicated worker. Captain Dye, congratulations on your 15-year pin.
Want to say anything, Tim?
Of course, it's been my pleasure serving the citizens of Erlanger. I enjoy it every single day. I love talking to my customers, and I enjoy working with each and every one of you as well as my fellow employees, and I hope to do it for many more years.
Congratulations,
Thank
Tim.
you.
Chief Fields.
If I could, I'd like to have Adam Fuller join me up here. Adam's here tonight to receive his 5-year pin. For those of you that do not know Adam, he started with us 5 years ago as a part-time telecommunicator, having relinquished his job as a full-time telecommunicator in Campbell County to pursue another career as a firefighter. Adam started with us as a part-time telecommunicator while keeping his full-time job as a full-time firefighter in the city of Fort Mitchell. We had some changes in our supervision, we did some testing, and Adam came out on top, and we knew that we needed him as a supervisor inside the telecommunications center. So we went to Adam and said, Adam, would you consider working 2 full-time jobs? Would you like to be a full-time firefighter and a full-time telecommunicator? And Adam and his lovely wife agreed. Well, she was here. Agreed, and now Adam spends, I don't know, 80 or 90 hours a week working, and we appreciate that greatly. Adam has been a very good asset for us. He has redone our whole training program inside the telecommunications center. He's been instrumental in getting that done, and he has been instrumental now in leading the supervisors we have inside the telecommunications center. Adam, thank you for 5 years.
I just want to thank everyone for the support. This has been a great city to come to and work for, and I look forward to many more years here at Erlanger. Thank you.
Thank you. Chief Fields, do we have someone to be sworn as a police officer this evening?
We do, sir.
Would you present him to council?
I would like to present Mr. Joe Scroggin. I believe his wife is going to hold the Bible. I would like to say a couple things. First of all, we understand that Police Academy is 18 weeks long, then they come back here and do another 14 weeks. Joe has completed all of that. There were a couple outstanding awards that he got while he was at the Academy that I would like to read right now for you before we swear him in. He was the recipient of the Coordinator's Award This choice was based on the following criteria: positive attitude, enthusiasm, leadership ability, academic ability, appearance, and physical fitness. Mr. Scroggin performed at the highest levels while in basic training. Mr. Scroggin performed his duties without hesitation and was always willing to assist his fellow classmates as well as staff. He was unfailing in his motivation to not only do the right thing, but to do things right. The amount of effort put forth by Mr. Scroggin in every aspect of training was immeasurable. Mr. Scroggin was a positive role model for the other recruits, and he provided moral support and encouragement when fellow recruits were having difficulties. He also served as a squad leader. The selection of squad leader is based on the following criteria: responsibility, leadership ability, positive attitude, motivation, and personal history. He fit all of these criteria. He constantly encouraged his fellow recruits towards better attitudes and professionalism. He led by example. He demonstrated both professional and personal integrity and demanded integrity of others. He ensured that his squad conformed to the rules and regulations set forth by the Academy. If he continues these duties as an officer with your organization, he will be a great asset to the agency. Mayor, I present Mr. Scroggin to you for swearing in.
Mr. Scroggin, are you prepared to take the constitutional oath?
Yes, sir.
Would you place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand? Do you, Robert Joseph Scroggin, solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this Commonwealth, and be faithful and true to the Commonwealth of Kentucky so long as you continue to be a citizen hereof, and that you will faithfully execute to the best of your ability the office of police officer according to law? And do you further solemnly swear that since the adoption of the present Constitution, you, being a citizen of this state, have not fought a duel with deadly weapons within the state nor out of it, nor have you sent a challenge to fight a duel with deadly weapons, nor have you acted as a second in carrying a challenge, nor aided or assisted any person thus offending, so help you God? Congratulations.
Most of you probably know my dad, who's sitting here tonight as well, and if you know him, you know I'm going to try and do the opposite and not talk as much. but thank you. It's a great honor. You know, I'm really excited to be here. You know, I look forward to a long career here in this city. So thank you.
Chief Fields.
A few years ago, we started an awards recognition program inside the police department. And the purpose of this was to establish procedures to provide awards and formal acknowledgement of exemplary service by the department personnel. It is also to act as an incentive and reinforcement of the department's mission, vision, and values. There are two awards that we're going to present tonight. I would like to have Greg Ayler and Matthew Kramer come up here with me, please. I'm going to read both of these citations. These stemmed from the same incident. That's why we're doing them both at the very same time. Please. Both of these nominations were made by Lieutenant Michael Bianchi. For the Medal of Valor is awarded for an individual act by a sworn officer that is above and beyond the call of duty and exhibits exceptional courage, extraordinary decisiveness, and presence of mind, unusual swiftness of action, regardless of his or her own personal safety, in an attempt to save or protect human life. Just as ironic as this is, this incident protected the President of the United States. I'm going to read first the Medal of Honor that Greg Ayler is going to receive tonight. On October 17, 2012, at approximately 11:44 a.m., Officer Ayler, along with Officer Goodman from the Lakeside Park Crestview Hills Police Department, was tasked with blocking the ramp from Interstate I-75 westbound to I-75 both north and southbound. Both officers had successfully stopped traffic going to the ramp system, and the motorcade carrying the President had left the airport en route to Cincinnati. Span of control for access to the ramp is about 1,000 feet and can be difficult to control unless traffic voluntarily complies. Kerry T. Prater driving a large Lincoln Town Car, was not compliant. In fact, the evidence shows he deliberately ran the roadblock with a plan to assault the motorcade. Carey drove past the officer's position, down the triangular gore area, which is the grassy area, and continued down the ramp to I-75 northbound. Officer Ayler took immediate action. He had remained seated in his police vehicle, prepared for such a breach. When Prater drove through, Officer Ayler notified Incident Command by radio that there was a breach and broadcast a description. This is the last we heard from Officer Ayler on the radio for several minutes. There was no other radio traffic to get officers There was other radio traffic to get officers to quickly sweep the motorcade path and to get backup officers to Officer Ayler, and there was silence from him. The reason he was silent was that he was taking action. He attempted to stop Prater in the traditional traffic stop, but Prater did not pull over for Officer Ayler's lights and siren. Officer Ayler recognized that this was a special circumstance. Ordinarily, an officer would continue to follow, wait for backup, and then evaluate if pursuing was even warranted. This was no ordinary situation. In just minutes, the motorcade carrying the President of the United States would be there. This car had to be stopped. Officer Ayler, driving the Dodge pickup truck marked police cruiser that he is assigned to, pulled alongside Prater, and Prater did not change his course and or his speed. Officer Ayler forced Prater off the road by pulling closer and closer to Prater's Lincoln Town Car. This caused Prater to pull over and stop without the vehicles making contact. Officer Ayler got out of his vehicle and approached Prater from the rear and ordered him out of the car. Prater ignored Officer Ayler's orders, forcing Officer Ayler to open the door, pull Prater from the car, and place him in a prone position on the ground in order to control him until help arrived. Officer Ayler had no immediate backup and no chance to get back up quickly. Officer Goodman could not leave the original post as he had to keep the rest of the traffic at bay. Other officers were sent to sweep the interstate looking for Prater's car. Eventually, Officer Kramer arrived. Prior to getting back up, however, Officer Ayler's actions were extraordinarily quick and decisive. He showed the presence of mind to realize the dire nature of the circumstance. He mentally processed the entire situation and took action, possibly to the detriment of his own safety. This quick action was intended to halt a threat to the life of the President of the United States. Only after Officers Kramer's arrival did they realize that this was a real threat and not just some non-compliant motorist. Officer Kramer noticed 2 pistols and an AR-15 along with many rounds of ammunition in the car. Prater had no good explanation for his actions, and through investigation it was discovered that he was mentally ill and has made threats against public officials in the past, including President George W. Bush. Realistic, the President probably would have been safe in his armored vehicle, but Prater showed deliberate intent. Also, while the President may have been safe, there was another danger. The motorcycle police officers at the beginning of the motorcade would have been completely exposed to Prater's oncoming Lincoln Town Car as well as his firearms. Officer Ayler went well above and beyond the call of duty. He acted immediately, without hesitation, and he acted in such an apt way that made it appear that he had a plan all along. He executed his hastily formed plan with precision and tactical grace. In doing so, he disregarded his own safety in an attempt to accomplish the mission of stopping Carey Prater. These actions saved a presumed attempt on the President's life and thwarted a direct threat to others in the motorcade. Officer Greg Ayler's conduct was, by definition, an act of valor, and he is being recognized tonight with the Medal of Valor.
First of all, I'd like to thank Lieutenant Bianchi for the stellar nomination for this. That was very nice. I appreciate that great. Thank Captain Ahrens and his committee for their review of the situation, the nomination for this. Chief Fields for the presentation of this award. An act of valor, it's something, I was at the right place at the right time is how I see it. Every police officer works his career and you wait for that one special opportunity. Are you going to catch a bank robber? Are you going to save someone? Are you going to, as a fireman, run into a burning building and save a child? This situation was no different. I was in the right place at the right time, and I was fortunate that I've had the fortune throughout my career and my time here in Erlanger that I've grown up or been trained by some very good and some very tactical officers. I've also had the fortune to attend a lot of good training and a lot of good tactical training. And I'm presented with that opportunity now to pass some of that training on to some of the younger officers. This is one of those situations that officers go out here every day. This just happened to be an incident that involved the president. But these officers put their life on the line every day in situations that we become mundane, we become very, very accustomed to, that this is no different. We did this for as long as I've been here, and they did it long before I came, where you shut down the interstate or whatever you do for the president. It gets boring, you get very stagnant, and you just want it to be over. This is a very, very good reminder that everything we do on a daily basis, why we have to be vigilant, because you never know what you're going to encounter. But I appreciate this very greatly. I appreciate, like I said, Lieutenant Bianchi, Captain Aarons, and Chief Fields. And I appreciate the opportunity to serve the city of Erlanger. Thank you.
The Chief's Exemplary Performance Award is awarded for an exceptionally high degree of dedication and professionalism by an employee that shows a continuing commitment to the department, sets superior standard for fellow officers to follow. On October 17, 2012, at approximately 11:44 a.m., Officer Ayler and Officer Goodman from the Lakeside Park Crestfield Police Department were tasked with blocking the ramp from I-75 westbound to I-75 northbound. Both officers had successfully blocked the ramp and stopped traffic from getting onto the ramp system. And the motorcade carrying the president had left the airport en route to Cincinnati. The motorcade was breached by a Lincoln Town Car driven by Kerry Prater. As described in Officer Ayler's nomination for the Medal of Valor, Ayler's actions were no short of heroic as he neutralized the threat presented to the president. Officer Kramer was the first officer to arrive as backup. His actions on the scene and in the aftermath were nothing short of exemplary. It was Officer Kramer who cleared the car for further threats. First, he did a sweep and discovered the firearms in the car. Next, he had the presence of mind to recognize there could be a greater threat, and he called for an explosive detection dog from the airport police department to check the car. The car was cleared. Next, recognizing that Officer Ayler should be allowed to step back from the incident, Officer Kramer took charge of the actual documentation and investigation. When I say took charge, I do not want to insinuate or have any perception of lack of humility. Officer Kramer's actions were service-based and team-oriented. He knew it was in his place, so he set out about his duties without hesitation or complaint. Officer Kramer immediately began a background investigation on Kerry Prather. He contacted the West Liberty Police Department since that was where Prather lived. He searched available records. He gathered all he could to help us get a better understanding of just who Prather was and what the threat may have presented. Back at headquarters, Officer Kramer prepared copies of the background information and made overall maps of the scene, identifying the relevant ramps, locations. When the Secret Service agents arrived, Officer Kramer gave them a full briefing on the events and where we stood in the investigation. Through his actions, Officer Kramer showed an extremely high degree of professionalism and dedication. His commitment was clear. He did all this without thinking about, without being asked to do so, and he exceeded all expectations. His behavior in this incident should be a model for all officers to follow, even if the case is not as extreme as a threat against the President of the United States. And I have seen this type of work out of Officer Kramer on many minor cases in the past. He continues to show this kind of dedication. Officer Kramer shows his continuing conduct by doing things the right way every time, no matter what. In doing that, he prepared himself for this case, which is probably a once-in-a-lifetime event. Ultimately, he put together an exceptional case file, which will probably be seen at all levels, from the Federal Bureau, the Federal Department of Justice, the Department of Treasury, the Bureau of Tobacco and Firearms, and even the executive branch of government. For this, Officer Kramer is being presented the Chief's Exemplary Performance Award. Officer Kramer.
Won't be as long as Officer Ayler. I don't have as much into this as he did. Chief, I do appreciate the presentation. You know, I've had a lot of good training throughout my years, and ironically, I was talking to Lieutenant Bianchi, who recommended me. He was actually one of the first people that explained to me the importance of documenting cases really well, and I think in this case it paid off for a lot of us. So I appreciate that, Lieutenant Bianchi, and everybody else who's helped me out throughout the years. Thank you.
Closing, I'd like to say a couple of things. Very first of all is that there was an outstanding job by both of these officers that day. Officer Kramer went into great lengths trying to figure out who Prather really was and came up with all of that information about the past threats he had made. Not only had he threatened George W. Bush, but he'd also made threats against lots of local politicians down in West Liberty, including the judge executive of that county, along with prosecutors and I believe police officers. I'd like to say one thing. Both of these officers are members of our special response team. I think the training they've received over the years to take tactical, I guess, stances on everything that they do has been very beneficial, and I appreciate all their efforts, and thank you.
Very good. It's time for the mayor's report. It's a pretty good segue. The type of men and women that we have working in our public safety corps here in the city of Erlanger, both from the police department, the communications center, Erlanger PSCC, the fire, and our EMS and rescue and advanced life support people are exemplary human beings. And we are all blessed by their willingness to serve us for the pittance that we can afford to pay them. It's kind of like teachers. Teachers and public service people don't get paid nearly what they're worth. And when we see what Greg Ayler and Matt Kramer did, saving, you know, for all intents and purposes, Erlanger from being the grassy knoll in Dallas. Didn't want that to happen. Don't want that under my watch. So I do my best to keep people like Greg Ayler and Matt Kramer here and the rest of these folks to serve us. I'm very proud of what they did. I'm very proud of what you all did to back them up. And I have a couple other comments to make. I could not imagine that matter being dispatched from Nicholson. That's the segue. On your desks, and for anybody who wishes to contact Ms. Hoffman, you can have a copy. I spent a good part of my Christmas holiday preparing a 14 or 15 page single-spaced report on the Erlanger, on the emergency communication controversy, which started several years ago and ended with most of the people in Erlanger receiving a refund check of $85 around the first of the year for a boondoggle put forth by our judge executive. This matter is behind us. We are moving forward with a very solid, first-class professional Erlanger PSCC that serves the residents of the city of Erlanger and serves the residents of the city of Crescent Springs. Our neighbors at the city of Ellesmere are working on it because they have the desire to stay with our public service also, but they have to work out the funding issue and also the $85 issue with the county. I wish them good luck. They're meeting on that tonight. But we're going to proceed just as we said we would, and if the combined dispatch center gets as good as ours is, which will never happen, and if it gets to be run as monetarily efficiently as ours is, which will never happen, taking a good look at their $5.1 million budget enacted for the next 2 years, we'll consider joining. Until then, we'll go on our own, we'll take care of our own business, and I'm going to do my darndest, as everybody up here who's elected to public office is going to do their darndest to protect these people in the back of the room from the nasty things that can happen to them and the failure to communicate with them by taking 6 or 7 minutes to push a button. But I didn't want this to go unrecorded because new mayors take office, new city council members take office, and the history of this affair needed to be recorded. for posterity, to answer questions that residents may have about the situation. And so I prepared the report, and it has 12 or 13 attachments to it, which is basically all the actual written correspondence between the judge executive and myself, and some emailed correspondence and documents that were prepared in the process of handling this matter, so that the reader can read for themselves how it happened. And hopefully we'll never ever get there again, because those who do not understand history are doomed to repeat it. And in this chamber, we're not going to repeat what we went through the past year. You know, the mayor of this town, there have been some outstanding people who've sat in this chair, and some very dedicated people. And I have known 8 of them or more, going as far back as OK Price, maybe before then. I don't know if any of them ever spent over 160 hours a year on one particular issue, but I did last year. I added up my time, and but it was a labor of love. It was something that was done to protect you all at the back of the room. It was done in conjunction with the command staff of the police and the fire, and I think we came out with a good result, at least for the time being. We never know what's going to happen in the interplay between our county government and our city government, but we here in the city of Erlanger stand on principle, and we're going to try to do the right thing for our people all the time, no matter what the cost is. That's the end of my report. Now we'll go on to the reports of standing committees, public safety and police, and since both our committee members are ill this evening, I'm going to ask Mr. Dunoff if he would assist on this report.
Yes, I do have something, Mayor. This is to Mayor Rouse, councilpersons, and from the police chief Fields and fire chief Allen, refitting of truck 74. As mayor and councilpersons, the creation of the special response team has brought to light the need for a vehicle to carry and store equipment used by the team. We discussed this with our staff and saw an opportunity to utilize a vehicle we already own. Due to the fire department's purchase and operational use of Pumper Rescue 51, the use of Rescue Truck 74 has been limited to mostly tactical rescue missions. When the fire department made this operational change, Truck 74 was made available for other uses. With the need for the city to leave an emergency operations vehicle, this became a perfect fit. Not only will we find a more useful purpose of Fire Truck 74 and save the expense of another vehicle, we will benefit by both departments sharing equipment stored on this vehicle. We have identified several pieces of equipment that both departments can share the use of. This will be stored on Truck 74, thus reducing cost and the likelihood of the departments purchasing duplicate equipment. This will also start us down the path of having a true emergency operation vehicle to respond to critical incidents. Over time, we will be able to improve the capabilities of both departments by a vehicle such as this. In the Capital Asset Fund for 2013, we budgeted $949,860 for vehicle purchases for the city. Of that, the police department and fire department have come in under budget by around $29,000. To refit Truck 74 for our use, the cost will be $23,938. We request approval to spend this amount out of the Capital Asset Fund to refit Truck 74. This will not affect the bottom line budget, will provide a very productive use for Truck 74, and will eliminate the need to purchase an additional vehicle for this use. And I'd like to make that in the form of a motion if we need to do that.
All right, motion by Mr. Dunoff, second by Mr. Burke. Any discussion? This, folks, is an illustration of how our departments work together. We have a vehicle that had lived its useful life in its previous function, but we have and it was to be replaced, basically go out of service. But we have a new unit that is to serve and protect our residents, and this vehicle is being refitted to serve that new unit, which really serves both the fire department and the police department. And this is, I commend both departments on their ability to work together. to share, with no jealousy here. Nobody's pulling against each other and asking for toys that the other one can't play with. This is really a job well done. Is there any other discussion about this issue? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Anything else, Mr. Dunham?
I don't have anything other than the chief is in the house.
Chief Fields. Any questions, Chief Fields? And we'll go back to Mr. Dunoff and Ms. Skidmore for the Public Safety, Fire, and EMS report.
Okay, I'm going to start it off and then JD's going to finish. Erlanger Fire EMS Fire Prevention and Public Education Report. Annual inspections required, 589. Completed to date, 87%. And I want to clarify, this is actually the November report, so that's why it says 87% instead of 100, and I'm sure that by now the December report has been finished. There were 50 general inspections completed, 9 re-inspections completed, 7 hood inspections completed, 7 other inspections, including Knox box, new construction, fire alarm, sprinkler, hydro, 3 plan reviews, 8 pre-fire planning activities, 1 public education event for a total of 85 contacts for the month of November. Public education was a class of 30 employees at Wild Flavors. It was CPR, first aid, bloodborne pathogens. And the calls, fire EMS calls for the month of November, they made a total of 343 responses for the month, which were 79 fire incidents and 264 EMS patients dispatches during the month of November. 5 reported fires in the city of Erlanger, and a total of 74 non-fire rescue events during the month. EMS responses included a total of 170 transported, 40 treated with no transport, and 94 cancels miscellaneous dispatches during the month. That's it.
Okay, the only other thing I have is I've got a bid. I'll go over at our bid portion of the meeting, and Assistant Chief Shulkers is in there.
Chief Shulkers.
Good report there.
Any questions of the committee or Chief Shulkers? Seeing none, we'll move on to Public Works. Committee of one tonight, Mr. Brown, you have new digs down there.
Yes, I do, just getting settled in. A couple things to go over here for Public Works. First of all, the leaf collection season ended on on Friday, December 7th, so I'm flummoxed in my new position. They collected 999 cubic yards of leaves during the 6-week program using 722 man-hours. We've also had our first, second, third, fourth, and fifth inclement weather of the year. Used 464 tons of salt and 328 man-hours and 120 hours of equipment time. Let's see here, and that has already surpassed all our totals for last year, so looks like this winter is going to be a little different than last winter. We also have a couple days left in the tree recycling drop-off till January 10th. The Public Works building, Keith Henry Public Works building on Jack Shaven Drive from 8 to 5, and that is again through January 10th. And then we'd also like to request a committee meeting for next Tuesday, the 15th. And Mr. Bogart is in the gallery.
Mr. Bogart. Nothing to ask. Any questions of the committee? Mr. Bogart. Seeing none, we'll move on to the Administration Committee, Mr. Longshore, Mr. Burke.
Yes, sir. I've got a couple things. First thing, we need to cancel the steering committee for the 15th of January.
Right.
And reschedule it for February 15th. And I need to add a committee meeting on for the 15th of January.
Right.
And let's see here, what else I got? Property tax collection for December was around $300,000. That makes a total for the year close to $4 million collected. And on January 21st, Martin Luther King Day, the offices will be open here at the City of Erlanger. You got anything, sir?
Yes, sir. 117 applications were processed in December for passports, bringing the year's total to 1,512 processed in 2012. And I think Ms. Anderson is in that.
She's got a jobs report, I believe.
Later on in the meeting for legislation, we have a municipal order and a ordinance for a new job title. Gene, if you want to come up and tell him about, it's a new position that he would like to expand on.
excuse me, as most of you know, Ed Bailey started working for us part-time, I guess probably about a year ago. He did most of our grant writing. I can tell you that when we sat in here with the presentation we made in August, all of the grants, several $100,000 worth of grants that have flown through the police department and the communications center, Ed Bailey was responsible for, and he wrote all of those grants. It seems to be a job that pays for itself, basically. So we got talking about other duties that Ed could do for the city and to turn that into a full-time position. So we got talking, and I think that using him as a grants coordinator for the whole city would be an advantage for all of us. He has some expertise in doing that, not to write all the grants, but be there as a resource for all the other departments to use also. Also inside the department, we're going to make him a purchasing agent. He's going to be in charge of all of our purchasing inside the department, plus helping out with the accreditation manager. We did the job description, I believe you all have a copy of. We're going to take, our proposal is to take one of the open positions that we have inside the police department and turn it into this position. So we're not asking to add anything, we're just going to switch it to this position.
Any questions?
Question?
Grant writer is hard to get. A good one.
He's been very good.
Do we need to do that by motion, Frank, or an ordinance? Or
You need both an ordinance and a municipal order, and they're on the agenda.
Okay, very good. They're in the legislative part. Any comment about that? Is there any comment about this? Any objections to it? Thank you. Any questions of the Administration Committee or Ms. Andrus? Seeing none, we'll move on to Finance. Mr. Blankenship, Mr. Howard.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. As long as you all know, we had our audit report on December the 11th of 2012. For all those on new council people, and a copy of that audit report was put in everybody's boxes. So if anybody has any questions, please see Greg about it. I'm sure he'll be able to answer that. On that, moving further along, the upgrade of our accounting software to Springbrook's newest version, as well as moving our general ledger processing to the cloud, is now complete. There are a few minor problems, but everything seems to be functioning to our expectations. Thank you.
Also, the budget process for fiscal year 2014 and the 3-year fiscal plan through June 30, 2016 has begun. The finance staff is working on revenue projections in each of the operating departments, is preparing expense estimates and requests. The departmental submissions are due on January 18, and once all those requests are submitted, they'll be compiled and enter into the preliminary budget. That budget will then be presented to council at the Saturday, February 16 Finance Committee meeting.
Is that the end of reports?
That's it.
Mr. Engelmann.
Nothing to add.
Any questions of the committee or Mr. Engelmann? Seeing none, we'll move on to the Friendship City Networking. Ms. Kyle, Ms. Cahill.
Yes, we get to talk about all the fun things. So the first thing I have is the Erlanger Swim Night at Silver Lake Recreation Center. And this is a time to get out of the cold, although it's getting warmer, but still it's going to get cold again, and have a taste of summer. So all Erlanger residents and all the city employees are invited to enjoy a free night of not just swimming, but rock climbing, bumper boats, water slide and spray area, and child play port. And this event's going to be scheduled for January 26th from 6:30 p.m. to 8:45 p.m. And if you're interested, you're supposed to contact Faith Woods and sign up and receive your free passes. And I'd like to introduce my new partner, Miss Kathy Cahill.
I'm glad to be back. The adopted unit, all officers have returned safely from Afghanistan. We were able to spend Christmas with their families. Another event that we're going to have in February is the Valentine event. They will be at the Erlanger Library. And mark your calendars now for the Valentine's event at Erlanger Library on Sunday, February the 10th. There will be games, crafts, lots of fun, more details to come. And Becky, I think she said she had to leave to go to a meeting, so she's not here.
Becky had to go. She had
Yeah, she had
pick up some folks.
Oh.
Are there any questions? Is that all your reports? Any questions of the committee? You have all heard the reports of standing committees. So I entertain a motion to be adopted. Present a motion, Mr. Dunoff, second by Mr. Longshore. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Let me take a moment of privilege to talk about the new council organization. Council organizes itself, but I make suggestions, and I made a couple of tweaks this year with Kathy coming on, and started her in her new term in an area that she is vitally familiar with. It will be a big asset to the city. And I appreciate you all agreeing to these committees. You were the last 2 years one of the best city councils I've ever seen. And the fact that you all ran for re-election with one exception, and that we got someone with years of experience, both as a council person and a retired employee, to volunteer to run as a write-in and get elected to come and serve the residents of this county is a testament to the type of people who serve on this council. And I want to congratulate you, and I want to thank you, and I want to tell you that this is going to be a great 2 years. And I hope I don't have to spend another 160 hours on anything next year. I would really like to practice law and make money, because I become president of the Kentucky Bar in July. So I have some other things to do this year. Okay, any reports from any of our representatives to any of the groups that we are members of this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to reports of city operations. First, our engineer, Mr. Viox.
Yes, sir. It's too bad that Patty's not here this evening, but I'm announcing that we're going to be real close to taking bids on the beautification project on Dixie Highway. We got an email that I passed to Mr. David Hahn that all the information is in Frankfurt, and we're just waiting for them to tell us so we can move forward with bidding. Also, David is closing out the Fitzgerald James sidewalk project, which we have completed. So 1 down, 2 to go, and one of those 2 is real close. Thank you.
Any questions of Mr. Viox? Next, our city attorney, Mr. Wickman.
I don't have anything other than the ordinances, Mayor.
Any questions of Mr. Wickman? You've heard the reports of city operations. Entertain a motion to be adopted as presented. Motion by Mr. Brown, second by Ms. Kyle. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Do we have any correspondence this evening?
No, sir.
Or has anybody signed up for city to speak to city council this evening? Zipping along rapidly through our agenda then. It's time for bids. I know we have a few of them. We have any bids besides Mr. Donoff? You want to go first?
Yes, I'll go first.
Very good. This is what we've been working on.
First of all, this bid, before I go over the bid, I want to talk about how we're going to go about funding this amount. But it's on the renovation of 4100 Narrows Road, which is our fire station. And the renovation committee consists of Captain Tim Dye, Lieutenant Justin Brinkman, Lieutenant Jim Brophy, and Lieutenant Craig Stewart, who was appointed by Chief Terry Allen. And they reviewed the bids and everything, and I'll go over it secondly. But what we need is, the amount was for $97,915, which exceeds our budget amount of $60,000 by $37,915. In addition, the bid did not include any furniture or appliances that will be required to complete the project. We would like to recommend that up to $75,000 of the $150,000 that was already budgeted for Fire Station 1 construction project be reallocated to the Narrows Road renovation. By approving this request, no additional funds will be requested in the next fiscal period, and this project will be entirely completed.
Mr. Wickman was talking to me about a different matter, but I know we needed to move budgetary amounts from one project to the other. I think that requires do we have to do that by a motion, or can we just do that administratively? If the money's already appropriated, we're just moving it from one project to another.
If you're moving it from one department to another, you have to do that.
No, this is the same department. Same department.
Same department.
Okay, but that's how we were going to fund it. Okay.
Now, on December 21st, 2012, we opened the bids for the interior renovation to the fire station located at 4100 Narrows. We received a total of 2 bids from potential contractors that completed the site visit as required by the bid specifications. The bid specification contained a request for proposals for the design and construction. The 2 bidders were as follows with amounts. Century Construction, $94,000. BL Spilly Construction, $97,915. And it's a recommendation to the renovation committee that we give the bid to BL Spilly Construction for the amount of $97,915. Now, if anybody has any questions about why we're taking a higher bid, Mr. Tendai is in the house, and he'll be more than glad to answer any of our questions.
It's got to be also the best bid.
Why are we taking a higher bid?
I think the motion ought to include some reason for taking the higher bid.
Right, okay.
Why taking a higher bid?
Okay, obviously, what the committee did is we broke down the specifics of the bid that they proposed to us, and BL Spilly, believe it or not, has really gone out of their way as far as the details. They've provided an actual a scheme or a set of plans already, which was not even requested. They've called me multiple times and have already demonstrated that their commitment to the project, as well as there's several different things that are higher grade materials in their bid versus the Century Construction bid.
Perfect. Sounds good.
So your motion is, John?
Good. Please.
Your motion is to accept the bid of BL Spilly, which is the higher bid because of what Tim just said.
Because of the plans and everything that they're going to do for the project.
All right. Is there a second to that motion? Second by Ms. Kyle. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next bid.
Thank you.
That's mine.
Any other bids from anybody else?
I have none, sir.
Missy, you have a bid?
You got to talk about it.
There's two bids on the agenda that actually we're not going to be able to present tonight. The paint project at Firehouse Bay area, up in the rooftop of the Bay area, the paint is peeling off terribly, and we've discovered that it was from the original preparation when it was painted and the type of paint that they used. So we have to have that scraped down and repainted with a special adhesive type paint. We're not ready to present those bids to you yet this evening. And the other one was a window project. We did go out to bid for that, but we received absolutely no bids on it. We had received some quotes, some tentative quotes earlier, but it was going to be over $20,000 with the quotes, so when we did go out to bid, we did not receive any bids. So we're going to back up and pump with that. There's some question as to whether we should just repair the windows that are there or replace them. So Chief Allen and Mark Stewart and Rodney and myself are all scheduled to meet on Friday. So we'll bring that back at a later date.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other bids? Any bids of soften? No? Okay. Any reports on work in progress? Anybody have any new business for the good and welfare of the city? I know, John, that thing from the water.
Yeah, I remember getting an email about the
I think it ought to be brought up, so I'm glad you brought it to my attention.
water pipe coming from the street to our house. If there's a problem, that we can contact this person in this letter. I've gotten them in the past, but this is the first time they contacted. Missy, they contacted you on this?
Yeah.
And
I believe they sent also.
And I talked to Libby tonight and see if she would put something in the paper regarding that. So if you could get with her, she said she'd be more than glad to. So, I mean, I just want our citizens to know that we're not behind this. This is something that's from a different company that just came out of nowhere to contact and said they were going to do this. And they've already sent the letters out, from what I understand.
So don't think it has the Erlanger seal of approval, because we know nothing.
Well, I've posted a statement on the webpage and our Facebook page.
And I also contacted one of the TV stations, John Matarese, and if we send him the information on his website, he would try to get something on the Air Force.
Very good. Thanks, John. Any other new business? Okay, moving on to legislation. Mr. Wickman.
I don't know if these are in the correct orders, but we'll take them as they're stacked here. First one is a municipal order. It's a municipal order of the City of Erlanger in Kenton County, Kentucky, accepting the reappointment of Marcus Carey, Daniel Kripp, Darrell Cummins, Robert F. Green, and Mary K. Malloy, Carolyn Lanehart, and Tom Quirk as members of the Northern Kentucky Regional Ethics Authority Enforcement Committee for a 2-year term commencing February 1, 2013, and expiring on January 31st, 2015. By explanation, state statutes require us to have an ethics ordinance, which we have. Also require us to have an ethics board to review complaints about violations of the ethics code. There's been a regional board developed by the Ed District, I believe, and these appointments are by that Ed District, but the participating cities need to approve of those appointments, and that's what this municipal order does.
So the motion would be to approve the municipal order.
As far as I know, they're the same numbers. There's no new members on the board. We've approved it before.
Motion by Ms. Kyle, second by Mr. Longshore. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Wickman.
Next municipal order is a municipal order of the City of Erlanger and Kenton County, Kentucky in regard to City Council committee assignments and meeting schedules. The mayor referred to that earlier in the meeting, and I'm assuming each of you have seen a copy of it and approve of it.
Motions to adopt the municipal order. Motion by Mr. Howard, second by Mr. Blankenship. I actually can see that far down there. It's hard sometimes. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Wickman.
Next item is an ordinance. It's an ordinance of the City of Erlanger and Kenton County, Kentucky, amending the Personnel Pay and Classification Plan Ordinance number 2370. That's a mistake. It should be 2371. To add thereto a new position of employment entitled Administrative Grants Supply Coordinator. This is a position that Chief Fields explained to you earlier in the evening.
I'll ask the city clerk to note in the minutes the first reading of this ordinance.
I will note that the language at the bottom of the first page underneath the signature line for the mayor should be the beginning of a second page, and basically all it does is include the schedule of employment positions in the city. The only difference is on page 2 in the middle with the underlined language, Administrative Grants Supply Coordinator. And following that, we have a municipal order. It's a municipal order of the City Council of the City of Erlanger and Kenton County, Kentucky, establishing the job description for the position of employment in the police department entitled Administration Grant Supply Coordinator, and attached to that is the job description of that position.
I entertain a motion that the municipal order be adopted. Motion by Mr. Dunoff, second by Mr. Burke. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Any other legislation this evening?
No, sir.
Mr. Howard, I need a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel, a brief executive session.
No, it's to discuss litigation.
Litigation, sorry, litigation.
All right, I need to make a motion that we go into executive session as provided by KL 61.810, paragraph B, discussion litigation.
That's the motion. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Brown. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We go into executive session. We go to